This video has been 2 years in the making. I'm Matt, I'm the whiskey nerd, and today I'm comparing these two whiskies. These are both whiskies from the Dingle Distillery. They are part of the Dingle Distillery's what they call the Wheel of the Year series, where they release different Irish whiskies with different kind of characters, whether they're single malt or single pot still, that have different cask finishes on them at special Celtic holidays of the year. So whether it's the summer solstice, whether it's Halloween, which is an Irish festival, or the Lunasa, which is the harvest festival, or Law and Droleen, which is a festival that takes place just after Christmas, they've released different whiskies at different times of the year to kind of commemorate these festivals and to make some nice whiskey. This series has been 2 years in the making. It's a 9-bottle series. It started off with Samhain, which is the Irish for Halloween, and has gone all the way through and has finished off with this one here, Law and Droleen. I've done 2 videos, one where I compare the first kind of years of releases, the first 4 whiskey releases, and a second video where I compared the second kind of year of releases. I put links to both of those videos down below, but here in front of me are the 2 winners of those videos. This one here, the winner of the first year, Lunasa, and this one here, the winner of the second year, Law and Droleen. So I'll explain to you what these whiskies are. This is the Lunasa release, and this is, like I said, the Harvest Festival, Lunasa. So what they did was here, because at the Harvest Festival, you harvest grains, they took a whiskey that was aged in bourbon casks, and they finished it in bourbon casks. And while that might just sound a bit strange, when you put an Irish whiskey into a bourbon cask that's already been used, you get a lot of sweetness. You get a lot of those round kind of grain, vanilla, butterscotch, honey, those kind of nice sweet notes. So then when you put it into a second cask, you get a basically doubling down on that sweet, grainy influence. And that's what they've done here with a single malt Irish whiskey. As you can see, I really like this one. This one is it's very much an easy drinker. It comes in at 50.5 or 101 proof, so 50.5% alcohol by volume, but it's such an easy drinker. It's so just like inviting. It's warm, it's ginger, it's sweet, it's honey, it's butterscotch. It's all those really nice kind of harvest time festival flavors, and it just has a really, really nice character to it overall. It was definitely my winner. It was maybe because it was such an easy drinker, like that first year releases. There was some very strong flavors on the table. This one here, just such an easy drinker. But because, as you've seen, I go back to it a lot because it's just so easy to enjoy. It's so easy to drink. So definitely that was my winner of year 1. And this one here, the most recent release, as you can see, I haven't had much of it yet, but this one here was my winner of year 2. This one here is Law and Droleen, which is the Wren's Day Festival. It takes place December 26th down in Dingle. Won't go into the festival, but this here is a whiskey. So we're going to talk about the whiskey. It's a single pot still Irish whiskey, so it's made of malted and unmalted barley, whereas the single malt is of course 100% malt. This comes in at 52.5% alcohol, so 105 proof, so it's a little bit higher than the single malt, but not really enough that you would probably notice if you were actually paying attention. And it was aged in bourbon casks for about 5 years and finished in a muscatel wine cask for about 4 years. So this means this whiskey is almost 9 years old, whereas this one here was aged in bourbon for 5 years and finished in bourbon for about 2.5 years. So it's about 7.5 years old. So this one here, when I tasted it first, I've tasted this actually a few times with the Irish Whiskey Society. We've done events with Dingle where they did a launch of this, so I was able to taste it a few times. I got myself a couple of samples of it before the whiskey was actually released, because again, released only on December 26th. So I was able to taste it a few times before I released it, but I knew I really liked it. It has this just roundness. Maybe it's because it's a little bit older, maybe it's because the muscatel cask were just that little richer, that little sweeter, but it has this really nice, almost buttery smooth roundness to it that I think wasn't there in some of the other releases, especially some of the younger releases, where like this whiskey and the very first whiskey in the series, they were both aged in bourbon and finished in muscatel, but the first whiskey only got 2 years in muscatel. This one got almost 4 years in muscatel, because again, that extra 2 years for the series to go through. So this here I think is just a bit rounder, a bit richer, and just for me it worked really, really well, and it was my favorite of year 2. But which is going to be the favorite of both whiskies against each other? So let's go into them. Cheers. This here is the Lunasa, and it's sweet, it's honey, it's vanilla, butterscotch. It's such an easy drinker. Like, I think I'm gonna have to be a bit critical because this here is a whiskey that's so inviting, it just makes me want to like it. Like it's sweet, there's a bit of citrus, a bit of like orange citrus in there, and you still get like that Dingle kind of malty character where it's a little bit herbal, a little bit like botanical, but it's still quite sweet and biscuity at the core, and that's what you get here. So let's go for the palate. Cheers. Super inviting on the palate. Like you get, it is a little spicy, don't get me wrong. It is coming in at over 50% alcohol by volume. It's over 100 proof in like American units. So it is a bit spicy, but it's not like drying out my mouth. It's not like drying out my cheeks where it's so alcoholic. I'm getting a bit of warmth, but I'm not getting any burn. So you get that hit of the ABV without that like punch of the ABV, if that makes sense. Like it is strong, it lets you know it's there, but it's not overpowering, it's not overwhelming, it's not unpleasant to drink. It has candy, ginger, butterscotch, again, butterscotch honey. It is, don't get me wrong, it isn't the most complex of whiskies, like bourbon and bourbon. You're gonna get the notes followed by more of those same notes, but those same notes are really tasty. So you get a lot of nice flavor coming through on the palate. So I'm gonna go in for a bit of water and then the next whiskey. Like I said, this is the Law Androlian single pot still aged in bourbon, finished in muscatel wine casks. And on the nose, you get that wine cask influence, like muscatel wine. It's like a sweet kind of fortified wine. So it has this really like dense character to it, but then when you mix it with a pot still, which has this almost like spicy character, because when you use like unmalted barley, you get these kind of spices, you get a bit of black pepper, and you get those kind of oily, spicy notes. You get that. So it adds a nice bit of a contrast to the sweet, syrupy muscatel wine without like fighting with it. It's like you get a bit of peppery note, a bit of roundness. You get like a bit of vanilla and also some red berries. Like you get a nice kind of rounded out nature to the whiskey. It does come in at 52.5%. Again, a little bit stronger, but on the nose, like you wouldn't really know the difference. Like here, it's sweet and inviting. This one here, a little bit spicier. Like it doesn't, you're not getting the alcohol burn the way you get sometimes in your nose, where you get that high ABV burn. You're just getting like a bit of spices from the whiskey. So I'm gonna win for the palate. Cheers. That is rich. It's full of flavor. It is not challenging, but it invites you to like look for flavors. Like you can go, oh, there's a bit of like almond. There's a bit of like nuttiness. Oh, there's a bit of red berries. Is that a strawberry or is that a cherry? It's like there's flavors there that you kind of almost have to look for a little bit in there, but it's nice. It's rounded. It's a whiskey that you can enjoy just drinking it, or you can enjoy kind of looking for flavors in it. And that's kind of where I'd pitch this one at, because it's not as inviting as this one, but it's open to drink because it is rounded. It's not strong. Like again, not getting a bit of burn. I wasn't choking on the whiskey despite it being over 100 proof. So despite it being over 50% alcohol, quite inviting, quite friendly. Yeah, just a very, very nice little whiskey. So I think I'm gonna have to fast forward. I'm gonna drink a little bit of water, go back and forth between them, and see which is my favorite. So I'll see you in a second. Okay, I think I know which one I prefer, but these are both very nice whiskeys. So don't get me wrong, this one here is nice and sweet, nice and strong, nice and rich. This one here, super inviting, super friendly, super enjoyable. I think either of these whiskeys would be very, very tasty, but if you asked me, gun to my head, and said, which one is your favorite? It'd be this one right here. There's something about this whiskey that I really, really like. Like, don't get me wrong, this here has a bit of complexity. This has the depth where you can sit with it, you can sniff it, you can enjoy it, you can taste it on the palate, and you can go through it. But this here is just so inviting. It's just so enjoyable. Like every time I go to drink it, I go, oh yeah, that's why I really like this whiskey. This is a very nice little whiskey. And even against a whiskey that I really, really enjoyed, I just preferred it. And it's not that I think it's a better whiskey per se. I think I just prefer it. I think I just prefer that openness, that invitation, that really nice, rich bourbon cask influence, backed up by a bourbon cask influence again. So you get that double bourbon, you get that really nice sweet character, kind of twofold, to get it twice. This one here, you get that really nice bourbon character mixed up with the wine cask. And don't get me wrong, if I'm looking for something complex, I will go for this one over this one here. But if you just said, what's your favorite whiskey? Which one would you want to drink if it was the only whiskey you could drink for the rest of your life? It'd be this one here, just because it's so inviting. It's so easy to drink, it's so enjoyable, it's so friendly and bright and sweet. And I know not everyone will agree with me. If you have tried these whiskies, if you've tried the rest of the series, let me know what your favorite is down below, because I know some people really like the ones that were finished in rye casks, or the ones that were like finished in rum casks. People really like those ones. But for me, there's something about this whiskey that I just really enjoy, and I am going to be very sad when my bottle is finally empty, because I'll just be out of it and I won't have the whiskey anymore and I won't be able to enjoy it. But it's very nice. These two are really good whiskies. I think you'd be happy with either of them, but me, I'd be happier with this one here. So that's where I think I'm going to leave it. This is my winner of the entire Dingle Wheel of the Year series. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you hit subscribe, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. I put out kind of whiskey videos like this where I compare whiskeys and I talk about the best whiskeys to like give for Christmas gifts or different things like that. On Mondays, I put out whiskey reviews like the reviews of these. On Wednesdays, and I put out cocktail recipes featuring whiskey on Fridays. So if you want to see more like that, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, and let me know in the comments below if there's any other ideas for videos you have, because I'm always on the lookout for good ideas for videos. But until then, I'm going to keep on enjoying this, and I'll probably enjoy this one too, and I'll see you next time. Sláinte.